Batgirl number 7, written by Gail Simone, art by Arjun Siaf and Aletha Martinez. The start of a new arc, and we pick up in media res of Batgirl being drowned in a sewer by somebody who apparently has metahuman strength. And she's sitting there thinking, like, oh, geez, is it weird that my last thought is that I'm so happy that I'm dying in a sewer that's actually just rainwater and not sewer water. Ha ha ha. But she ends up using a grappling gun to knock this guy's mask off. He has like a Japanese Oni mask on. And she knocks it off and catches her breath for a second. And then the guy's like, wait a minute, you knocked my mask off. That makes you interesting to me now. Okay, bye. And then he just disappears. And Batgirl, again, goes to catch her breath. Then we go to 2 hours ago. Batgirl is flying through the city, and she goes to Black Canary's apartment, knocks on her window, and is just like, hey, I'm kind of going through some stuff. Could we fight and spar for a little bit? And she's sparring with Black Canary, and Black Canary comments of like, look, you've got all the moves down. You like mentally know it. You're smart enough there, but you are relying on like your shock plates in your suit to stop the hits. Your muscle memory is gone because of your time in the wheelchair. So you have to build that back up. And we see Batgirl talking about like, yeah, you're right. I've been hit a few too many times by the past two villains of my series. And she lands a few good hits on Black Canary, but Black Canary eventually gets her in an armbar, and then Batgirl does a somersault to get out of it. And as she's lying on her back, she thinks of how the Joker shot her, because that's just never going to stop being a thing. And they sit and have some tea later on, and Black Canary asks her, like, okay, so what's going on with you? And she's like, oh, a whole lot of stuff, but for the most part, my mom's back in town. And then we get one page of Gordon, like Commissioner Gordon, just meeting up with his ex-wife, with Barbara, and it just happens. And then he's basically like, so why did you leave, Barbara? Why did you do it? And she's like, you know very well why. Because of James Jr., our son. And then we don't come back to it. So Black Canary tells Barbara to stop feeling sorry for herself, that she's got a great chance and she needs to make the most of it. And that they are birds of prey. We're going after some guy named Grotesque, who's going to be like hitting up a party tonight. And everyone else is busy, so they wonder if Batgirl wants to take it. So she says, yeah, sure. She goes to the club called, I don't even know what. Point being is that it is run by a billionaire named Theodore Eichlin, who apparently has this really, really, really expensive bottle of wine. And by the time she gets there, the guy, Grotesque, he's already in there with some goons. And he's asking for the bottle of wine because apparently, according to Black Canary, this guy is interested in all the finer things in life and considers himself a collector and blah, blah, blah. And when Eichlin is literally willing to die for the people at the party but not give up his bottle of wine, Grotesque takes a shot at him in the head, in which case Batgirl jumps in and starts bashing skulls in. And as she's taking care of the goons, Grotesque is like, oh my, look at her. Isn't she something? So he uses some sort of metahuman ability to drain electricity from like the power wires and then use it to mask his escape. And then as Batgirl checks that everyone else is okay because Eichlin is just straight up dead, she comes across an open manhole cover and is like, okay, you went down the sewer. And she goes down into the sewer, finds a couple of the goons down there who I guess he just killed. He just said two little cannon fodder dudes apparently discarded. So I guess they died because of him. But regardless, she pulls off one of their masks and sees if she can recognize the guy. And as it turns out, it's one of the dudes who was with the Joker when he shot Barbara. And that, like, freaks her out. And that's where we end. I feel like we're retreading the same ground still, and I understand that it's a long process of getting better and some mental thing and stuff like that. I understand that, but it's not even like the words are changing. Everything is the exact same place where it's been. And it's just like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this, but yes, I know I can do this. It's getting a little tiring now, 7 issues in. As for Grotesque, whatever. He seems as disposable as Gretel was in the last 2 issues, which was very. Maybe he'll become something more, but I highly, highly doubt it. As for this twist with the Joker thing, I don't dislike it, but it also feels way too convenient of just like, oh man, just as I was starting to get over myself, this thing happens. It's like, yeah, we know. We did this again with the whole mirror thing and all that. So, I don't know. It just feels like the same story told through a slightly different lens, which, fine. It wasn't a terrible story to begin with, and maybe this will have a new twist on it, but I don't know. And then that one page of Barbara and Jim Gordon talking. Like, I understand you have to forward that plot a little bit, but it just felt so out of nowhere because Jim was just like, Barbara, what are you doing here? You know why I had to leave, Jim. Of course. Done. Ugh, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Overall, I'm going to give this one a 6. Art is okay. It doesn't really stand out. It's more house style than anything else, but it is fine. My biggest qualm is, of course, yeah, it just feels like the same thing over and over and over again. And maybe it's going to have a different twist to it, but we'll see.